Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 9 of the holiday card series. Today I'm going to be recreating this card that I shared earlier in the fall with my September release, Sneak Peeks. Now this uses the Holiday Icons stencil, and there are 6 stencils in the set, but I'm only going to be using this one that has the full design. My first color combination has Tidepool, Juniper, and Midnight. And this is a direct recreation of that card. When I was taking assessment of how many holiday cards I had completed, I realized that these 2 cards that I made from this one stenciling were some of my favorite, and one of my favorite cards. And I wanted to recreate this, and I thought since I only needed about 10 cards in order to meet my goal and mail out all of my cards before Christmas, that this would be a great design to do because you do 2 cards at once and it comes together really quickly. So I'm going to be making actually 12 cards. I thought it'd be kind of nice. I would do 3 color combinations, 2 stenciling of each, and then I'd be able to get 4 cards out of each color combination. So I'm actually going to end up with 12 cards, and I love how this turned out. So all right, so you've seen me recreate this once, and now I'm going to talk you through all of the ink blending as I recreate it a second time. Before I do that, I wiped off my stencil just to keep things a little bit clean, peeled up that stencil, and then I'm left with that 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock with that design on it. So I'm going to put down a clean piece of cardstock and start blending. So with Tidepool, the first color, I want it to be at its lightest at the very bottom. Have it kind of blend up. Juniper gets pretty dark and intense going across. You kind of want it at the darkest point at that third mark down, like a third of it down. And then Rainforest is most intense up there at the top. And I forgot to mention, I was going to do Midnight and changed it to Rainforest. Okay, so there's the second color combo. Cleaned up my grip mat. This grip mat is from Altenew. It's their 9x12 grip mat. Cleaned up, and then I'm going to be using watermelon, plumberry, and eggplant. So as I stencil on watermelon, I'm having, like, do you see where that more intense color is kind of coming across the entire piece of cardstock? If you split the cardstock into thirds, that darkest area of watermelon is going to be at that second third line. And then plumberry is going to be at its darkest at that first third line, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to, in my head, make sure I have enough room for each color as I add it to the project. So for this one, the colors were pretty light, but still intense and overlapping. And then I'll bring in a little bit of, well, not a little bit, actually a lot of eggplant up at the top because I really wanted it to be pretty intense up there at that top edge. So eggplant is coming down, it's overlapping these colors. And I think there's a pretty good blend with these colors. But as I move on to my second replication of this design, I'm actually going to overlap the colors even more and add more ink, and I think it came out even better. So here's the first one, nice soft blend. I think it still looks really nice, but as I move on to the second one, I'm going to be ink blending a little bit differently. So the intense color of the watermelon is still coming in along that kind of like that the bottom third area, but then I also took the watermelon upwards more. And that allowed me space to have that plumberry overlap. So I did overlap those areas quite a bit more. And then as I bring in eggplant, that overlaps down into the plumberry even more than it did before. So just by changing my ink blending just a tiny bit and having these colors overlap more than they did before, I think you get an even more intense blend, and I think it looks even better. So using those same kind of tips or, I thought of, or the things that I discovered, I came in with my third and final color combination and did the same thing. Starting with Pink Lemonade, and I'm bringing that color up even more to the top of the cardstock than I did before. And this is going to help me blend it into Poppy in a better way, better fashion. It's going to overlap and those colors will blend even more. So as a takeaway from this, if you are struggling with your blending, try overlapping your colors even more. So when you're doing a really large swatch of color like this, or a really large project where you're blending basically just 3 colors, it's going to give you a lot of space to blend, and you're really going to be able to practice that overlapping. Now, I was just going to do Pink Lemonade, Poppy, and Cranberry, but I really missed that intensity that the Eggplant gave the previous color combination. So I thought I'd bring in a little bit of Eggplant just right up here at the edge, and it was just enough of that dark shade that I was craving. I thought about using it with the brown, but Eggplant was already on my desk here, so that's what I used. So I'm coming in with my second version of this color combo, and I'm doing it in the same fashion. I'm making sure I bring that Pink Lemonade up a little bit higher, having Poppy overlap. And this time Poppy is even a little bit further down because I wanted to give more space for the Cranberry and the Eggplant. So I'm going to bring that Cranberry all the way across and then bring in the Eggplant up there at that top edge. So by doing 2 of each color combination, it really gave me the opportunity to perfect how I wanted to do this. So if I was going to do even more than just 12 cards with this kind of method of ink blending, I think it would have just gotten better and better as we went along. So at this point, I'm working on the greeting for each card. I measured the greeting on the card I already had made and realized that navy blue cardstock, this is Midnight cardstock from Concord and Ninth, was cut to 1.5 inch wide by 1 3/4 inches tall. So now I'm going through and stamping a greeting from the Winter Greenery stamp set, and I'm going to center it as the best that I can. It wasn't perfectly centered, but it worked out well enough on this piece of navy cardstock. I'm going to put the greeting on the door of my MISTI, prep the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, and then stamp that greeting in white pigment ink. I'm actually going to stamp the greeting twice, and take note, when I bring it over, I'm just going to kind of run my fingers over the top. I'm not applying very much pressure because the little tiny letters of the Wishing You a Holiday Season, they're so thin and dainty that you don't want to really smack that stamp down and have it kind of blob out. If you want really dainty, intricate letters, just barely let that stamp kiss the cardstock and then stamp it a couple of times to get a nice buildup of that pigment ink. I then put some alabaster embossing powder on top, melted it with a heat tool, and then did that for the other 11 pieces for my cards. Now, to clean off the excess anti-static powder, I used a microfiber cloth and just wiped those down with a little bit of pressure that takes off any of that kind of ghost pattern, like the ghost powder that kind of sticks around. I then grabbed a roll of 1 inch wide foam adhesive and I snipped off a couple of rectangles. I kind of did these in batches of 2 and added that onto each cardstock piece. I did all of these at the same time, everything in batches. All right, so now I've cut all of my backgrounds into 2 A2 card fronts, and I'm adhering them to the front of some folded card bases. So these cards are actually fairly light. There's just the cardstock base, the card front, and then this popped up greeting. They're very clean and simple cards, but I think they do pack a lot of punch with that really nice gradient of color. So I adhered each one of the color combinations, and I really love how these look, especially when they're side by side as a group. I just think they look really, really neat. I went through and adhered all 12 card fronts, and amazingly, my tape runner survived the entire thing. I thought for sure I would need to put a refill in, that just because that's how my luck has been going these days. But I didn't. My roll of tape runner survived all of that without any issue whatsoever. So here are all 12 of the finished cards. I thought it'd be really fun to kind of fan them out like this, just to see them all together. I think it looks so fun. It kind of makes me want to do a project where I do all these same color blends, but maybe I cut them into columns, like narrow strips, and then put them together on a card front. I think that would look really fun. So this is day 9 of the holiday card series. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll be back on Friday with day 10, so I hope you'll come back and join me. And I hope your holiday season is filled with lots of love and time with family. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.